You got it?
Boom.
Look at that, huh? Not bad for nobody, huh?
We got it. We're on our way out. Athena?
The movie opens in the shadowy corridors of global espionage as Roxanne Hall, a seasoned agent of a covert organization known only as the Union, leads a high-risk operation in Trieste, Italy. Their objective is to secure a rogue CIA asset before it falls into the wrong hands. But things spiral out of control. The mission collapses in a haze of bullets and betrayal. Her team is decimated. The target is taken by an unknown adversary. Roxanne, or Rox as she's called in the field, is left reeling. The botched op weighs heavily on her. The loss of her agents, the unanswered questions, and the enemy's shadowy emergence all gnaw at her resolve. The scene shifts to Paterson, New Jersey, where Mike McKenna, a construction worker, lives a modest, blue-collar life. His world is concrete and steel, a far cry from Roxanne's world of secrets and danger. One night, while drinking with old friends at a neighborhood bar, Mike's past walks in. Rox enters the bar like a ghost from another life. She and Mike were once high school sweethearts, inseparable until life carved them down separate paths. It's been 25 years since they last saw each other. Their reunion feels warm and familiar. They talk, laugh, share beers, and relive old memories while playing pool. Rox is charming, casual, almost flirty. But beneath the smiles and the nostalgia lies something colder. She leads him away from the crowd to a quieter place, hinting at rekindled romance. Then she strikes. Without warning, she tranquilizes him. As he slumps forward, unconscious, her operatives seal him in a body bag and spirit him away. Hours later, Mike wakes in a lavish hotel suite in London. Confused and angry, he tries to make sense of his new surroundings. Rox explains how he got there, but the explanation doesn't soothe him. He bolts from the room, driven by the panic of possibly losing his day job. He can't afford to be late again, not after the last warning. But as he steps into the crisp London air, he runs into Tom Brennan, Rox's superior. Tom, calm and calculated, convinces him to stay just long enough to listen. The trio sits down at a local diner for breakfast. Over coffee and scrambled eggs, the truth comes into focus. The Union is bleeding. The Trieste mission was a disaster. Too many good agents lost. The enemy is still at large, and time is slipping. They tell Mike he is exactly what they need. Not a polished Ivy Leaguer, not a legacy brat from Harvard or Princeton, not someone whose resume screams power, but someone who doesn't stand out. A nobody. A man with calloused hands and dirt under his nails. Someone invisible. The Union, they explain, is not about blue bloods. It is built on blue collars. Its backbone is street smarts, not theory. And in times of crisis, they don't turn to skull and bone scholars or Oxford fencing champs. They turn to people like Mike. People who get things done without drawing attention. People who don't ask to be heroes. The mission seems simple on paper, but it's lethal in practice. A briefcase containing highly sensitive intelligence, names and profiles of undercover agents embedded in law enforcement and intelligence agencies across allied Western nations, has surfaced on the black market. The briefcase is being auctioned off to the highest bidder by Juliet Quinn, a cold and cunning broker of secrets known only as the auctioneer. The sale is set to take place in London, but the tendrils of the operation stretch across Europe. The buyers are some of the world's most dangerous players: Iranian militants, North Korean operatives, Russian intelligence factions. The briefcase is more than just a file. It's a loaded weapon aimed at global stability. Mike has no training, no combat skills, no background in espionage, and certainly no intention of becoming anyone's last hope. But the Union is running out of time, and they believe his ordinary life is the perfect camouflage. The enemy is watching, the auction is near. And Rox, hardened, relentless, still carries something unresolved in the way she looks at him, something that feels like guilt or a memory that never healed. Mike doesn't know it yet, but he's already crossed the threshold. Whether he's ready or not, the world is pulling him in, and the quiet man from Paterson may soon find himself at the center of a storm. Mike begins to unravel under the weight of what's been asked of him. The mission feels impossible. The stakes are terrifying. He is just a construction worker from New Jersey, not a covert operative. Doubt creeps in like a slow-moving fog, thickening with every hour that passes. He second-guesses himself, wonders if he's being set up to fail, wonders why he, of all people, was chosen. But Rox doesn't let him spiral alone. She reminds him of who he is, not who he thinks he is, but who he's always been. She speaks with a steady calm, telling him that even in his so-called ordinary life, he deals with danger every single day. She points out how he moves steel across the sky like it's second nature, how he walks along thin beams hundreds of feet above ground with no safety net and no hesitation. He confirms it without fanfare, but the memory of that balancing act registers. She tells him that once upon a time, he was an all-star athlete, focused, fearless, and back then she could always count on him. Through games, heartbreak, and long walks home, he was her constant. But the warmth of nostalgia gives way to something sharper. Mike reminds her that while she could always count on him, he couldn't say the same for her. She disappeared, vanished from his life without warning. Rox brushes it off. She says she didn't vanish, she just went to college. Nothing dramatic, nothing personal. Life just happened. She insists this mission isn't forever, just a one-time job, a temporary role to fix a very specific, very urgent mess. And once it's done, he can return to his life. She slides a ticket into his hand, tells him that if he wants out, he can be on a plane the next morning. Back to the same bar, same stool, same guys with the same stories. The door is open. She won't force him. The choice, ultimately, is his. Then she walks away. Alone and restless, Mike calls the one person who always brings clarity, his mother, Lorraine. She doesn't know the details, but she recognizes the name. Roxanne Hall. She remembers the girl from Mike's past, says she always liked her, said she was smart, pretty, driven, came from a good family. Lorraine doesn't ask questions, just tells Mike to have fun, trust himself, and give Rox a hug from her, and she reminds him not to forget the best man speech for his brother's wedding. Her voice, light and warm, lifts some of the weight. For Mike, it feels like a sign. The next day, he chooses to stay. Training begins immediately. What should have taken 6 months is crammed into just under 2 weeks. He's pushed to the brink. Every day is a test of endurance and identity. He's given a new name, new documents, and a backstory crafted down to the last detail. His mind is picked apart through psychological evaluations. He is taught better techniques on how to throw a punch, break a hold, disarm a threat. He learns how to shoot with precision, how to disappear in a crowd, how to spot a tail. And through it all, Rox is there, always 2 steps ahead, efficient, relentless, polished in a way Mike can't match but tries to keep up with. She moves like she belongs in this world. He fumbles, he sweats, he curses, but he keeps going. He watches her, learns fast, pushes through the pain, because now the doubts are quieter, the fire is stronger, something in him has shifted. He's no longer just trying to help Rox fix her mission, he's trying to prove something, to her, to himself, to the version of him that once ran up the field with the whole town watching. He is not a spy, not yet, but he is becoming someone new, someone dangerous, someone necessary. Sent by the Union with $5 million to buy an opportunity to bid at the intel auction, Mike is immediately ambushed by another interested party. Mike barely escapes with his life. The team extracts him just in time. But the damage is done. Their auction access device, a critical tool that would have served as their digital key into the heavily encrypted system, is destroyed beyond repair. What was meant to be a clean entry into a dark market has turned into a scramble for survival. Back at their temporary base, tensions run high. The debrief is quiet but heavy. Suspicion hangs in the air like smoke. One operative speaks up, voicing a concern that many are already thinking. Their operations are being compromised too precisely, too consistently. First Trieste, now London. He believes there's a mole in their ranks, someone on the inside leaking details to their enemies, someone close. Tom Brennan, the mission's hard-edged leader, refuses to entertain the accusation. He shuts it down with cold finality, saying he trusts every person in that room with his life. He shifts focus instead. The attack on Mike may not have been sabotage from within, he suggests, but rather a calculated act of desperation. For rivals at this level, it's easier to eliminate the competition than outbid them. In a war of shadows, murder is often more efficient than money. His conclusion is grim but logical. To the assailant, every participant in the auction is now a target. It's open season. The analysis makes sense, but one colleague raises an undeniable truth. It doesn't matter who else gets taken out if they themselves are no longer in the game. Their access device is gone. Without it, they have no way to bid, no way to even get into the system. They are on the outside, watching a storm build they can no longer influence. Rox listens in silence, weighing the options. Then she speaks. Repairing their own device in the short time left is impossible, but there's another way. They could steal one. If another team has a working device, and they're already playing dirty, then there's no reason not to escalate. Tom absorbs the suggestion. It's bold, risky, but the stakes are no longer about reputation or rules. The safety of countless operatives across the Western world is on the line, and if the Union fails now, they may never recover. Their future, their credibility, their very existence hangs in the balance. With less than 48 hours left and their funds drained, the Union makes a hard decision. They abandon diplomacy. They chase down a lead on the Koreans' hired mercenaries. The scene shifts from chaos and strategy to a quieter, more personal setting. A dimly lit bar where Rox finds Mike seated alone, brooding over the wreckage of the mission. The weight of failure clings to him. His expression is drawn, his shoulders heavy with doubt. The moment Rox enters, he speaks before she even sits. He already knows why she's there. He assumes Tom has sent her to deliver the inevitable verdict, that he's being sent home. A clean exit, an end to his involvement. The mission has gone sideways, and he believes he's no longer needed. Rox doesn't challenge the assumption. She doesn't deny it. Instead, she gently suggests that maybe going home is the best option. He could live, plan his brother's bachelor party, and leave this brutal world behind. But her voice lacks conviction, and Mike sees through it. He confesses that he hates the feeling of letting people down. It eats at him. The sense that he's failed not just the mission, but Rox too. She stops him from spiraling. She tells him he did everything right. He followed orders, kept his head, and moved with courage. The mission collapsed under forces outside his control. He isn't to blame. But her words, though meant to comfort, only deepen his resolve. Mike tells her that he wants to finish what they started. Not out of duty, but to prove that she was right to believe in him. That she didn't make a mistake pulling him into this world. Rox is moved visibly, though she masks it with a smirk and a quiet proposal that they raise a glass. To second chances, to what comes next. By the following morning, Mike is fully back in the fold. He joins the planning session with renewed focus as the team prepares to intercept the North Korean mercenaries. Their goal is to steal a working auction access device, the only remaining ticket into the high-stakes event. The strategy is tight. The timeline is razor thin. But at first, everything unfolds without a hitch. The ambush is clean. The team moves like clockwork. They're seconds away from securing the device when suddenly an unknown third party intercepts their signal. The atmosphere turns tense in an instant. Precision gives way to panic. In the chaos, it looks like the mission might fall apart again. But Mike steps in, cuts through the noise, and seizes the moment. He adapts quickly, finds a path forward, and saves the mission from collapse. The team succeeds. They get the device. Relief washes over them. There's a flicker of pride, even laughter, as someone jokes that it's not bad for a so-called nobody. But the joy is short-lived. Their celebration screeches to a halt when they make a grim discovery. Athena, the Union's sharpest communications expert, is found dead in the van. The impact is immediate. Grief, shock, rage. But worse still is the realization that follows. Rox's mind races. The pieces click together. Something is wrong. Very wrong. She calls Tom, telling him they've been compromised, her voice low but urgent. She begs him to evacuate their headquarters, but it's already too late. From a distance, the team watches in stunned horror as their base of operations erupts in a fiery blast. The explosion is violent. The ground shakes. A cloud of black smoke rises, curling like a fist into the sky. For a heartbeat, they believe they've lost everything. Their people, their resources, their mission. But then Tom calls. His voice is ragged but alive. He tells them he survived. The control room still functions, though they don't yet have a full casualty count. The damage is severe, but not absolute. With their cover blown, the Union is forced to go dark. The team disperses into the shadows. Survival becomes the new priority. Rox and Mike retreat to one of her safe houses. The house is small, fortified, and quiet. But the silence is not peaceful. It's heavy with loss. Rox is distant, her eyes dark with thoughts she doesn't speak aloud. Mike does what he can to lift her spirit, to remind her that they are still in the fight, that she's not alone. His presence steadies her, just enough. By the next evening, the team, wounded, shaken, but still standing, regroups with one goal. The auction is still on, the intelligence is still in play, and with blood spilled and time running out, they head into the final act with the fire of vengeance and a plan sharpened by loss. With the clock winding down and the fate of the Union hanging by a thread, Tom Brennan places a bold bid using covert CIA funds. The auction is in full swing, tension rising with every offer. Behind the scenes, Foreman, one of the Union's tech-savvy field operatives, works relentlessly to trace Juliet Quinn's precise location. She is the elusive auctioneer who holds the briefcase, an item so volatile, so valuable that losing it now could collapse alliances and compromise global intelligence networks. As the CIA officers look on, posturing with smug confidence and bureaucratic swagger, it becomes clear from all their bravado that if the Union fails this time, it is finished. The organization, already bleeding from the disasters in Trieste and London, will not survive another blow. All eyes are on Rox and Mike, the only two operatives chosen to stop this before it's too late. Following Foreman's trace, Rox and Mike make their move. Speeding through city streets and shadowed backroads, they close in on Quinn. She's cornered. They force her hand, pushing her to take them to the briefcase. At her residence, the situation is tense but under control. The briefcase is within reach. Just when it seems the mission is back on track, there's a knock at the door. Standing there is Nick Faraday, a face from the dead. Once a Union agent, believed to be among the 6 casualties in the Trieste operation, Nick was thought to be long gone, but now he stands alive and grave-faced. Rox hesitates, shaken. Nick's warning is urgent, and after a brief standoff, she lets him in. He claims they are all in imminent danger, that nothing is as it seems. His revelations are chilling. Nick accuses Tom Brennan, the man who built the Union from the ground up, of being the traitor, the mole, the one who orchestrated the failure in Trieste, the man responsible for the chain of deaths and the chaos that followed. As the pieces start falling into place, Mike makes a second, more personal discovery. Nick Faraday was Roxanne's husband. The betrayal cuts deep. Mike is stunned, betrayed, hurt in a way that goes beyond mission parameters. Still, with no time to process, they are forced to keep moving. They agree to meet with a CIA liaison at a bridge the next day. The briefcase must be delivered. The truth must come out. But the cracks in their unity have already formed. Rox and Mike leave together with the briefcase. Inside the car, the silence between Rox and Mike is thick, then it explodes into raw emotion. Mike demands answers. Rox hadn't told him about Nick. She insists they were separated and she had no reason to expect Nick was alive, but the excuses feel hollow. Mike cannot let go of the feeling that he has been played, that he was a pawn in something bigger than him. Their argument turns personal. Old wounds reopen. They recall how their fathers, both racist and controlling, disapproved of their young love. Rox endured more than Mike ever knew. Mike confesses that his father was cruel and that he should have fought harder for Rox back then, but he also says she should have been honest. She knew how much he cared. He accuses her of dragging him into this world under false pretenses, of manipulating his feelings to serve a mission. Rox fires back. She didn't manipulate him, she saved him, pulled him out of the quiet, confined life he was wasting away in. She saw more in him than he saw in himself, but her words don't land the way she hopes. To Mike, it sounds like condescension, a reminder that she never saw him as enough unless he was in her world, playing by her rules. The fight ends abruptly. Mike's resolve crumbles. He opens the car door, steps out into the night, and walks away. The briefcase remains with Rox, but the bond they rebuilt now lies fractured. With the final hand yet to be played, the mission remains alive. But the trust between them may not survive the fallout. Morning breaks over the city, gray and tense. At the bridge drop-off point, Rox waits, unsure if Mike will ever show. But then, just as the city begins to stir, he appears, steady, calm, and back in the fight. Rox is surprised, touched, and they exchange brief apologies, the air between them finally clearing. Whatever fractures had formed between them the night before has begun to heal. They may not have time to unpack all that's been said and unsaid, but for now, they are on the same side again. Before they can act on their next steps, Rox receives a call. The voice on the line is familiar. Nick Faraday, the ghost who refused to stay dead. But now his tone is stripped of pretenses. He reveals the extent of his betrayal. He has framed Rox and Brennan with a fake briefcase, casting them as traitors in the eyes of the CIA. His real plan is to sell the real briefcase and its secrets to the Iranians. Years of thankless service, of being underappreciated and underpaid, have pushed him over the edge. He's done hiding. He's done waiting for recognition. When the Union recovered the Koreans' access device, he knew he had to wipe them out before they got to him. Trieste should have been the end, but they wouldn't stop, especially not Rox. Rox, seething but focused, listens. She reminds him that his actions cost lives. Athena's blood is on his hands. Nick offers no apology, only justification. Rox ends the call with a quiet fury. She knows what has to be done. As the CIA moves in to detain them, Rox and Mike make a bold escape. They sprint toward the edge, leaping off the bridge and plunging into the cold, rushing river below. Underwater and disoriented, they emerge only when it is safe. The CIA is behind them, but the threat ahead is greater. Dripping and breathless, they regroup. Rox reveals that she placed a tracker on Nick the last time she saw him. Despite everything, she was already preparing for this moment. Now they know where he's headed. As they move through back alleys and underground paths, Rox confesses that the Union is effectively out of the game. The CIA has turned on them. Every law enforcement body in London will be searching for them. And if they are caught, Mike won't just be detained. He'll be convicted for treason and likely sentenced to hard labor. His life, as he knew it, would be over. Mike meets her gaze. There is no hesitation. He is still in. As long as she is in, so is he. His words are simple but unwavering. Rox is stunned, her composure flickering. For a brief moment, her burden feels lighter. Following the signal, they track Nick to Istria. Getting there fast becomes a challenge, but Mike leverages a contact and secures a stealth plane. They board quickly. In the tight confines of the aircraft, memories come flooding back. High school, youth, the wild possibility of what they once were. The tension between them grows, rooted in shared history, near-death experiences, and raw emotion. With danger looming ahead, they cling to the one thing that feels real in all the chaos. Rox finally admits she's not sure they will win or survive. But if it all ends, she's glad it ends with Mike by her side. She's grateful for that night at the bar in Patterson, for the twist of fate that pulled him back into her life. Her words settle deep. For Mike, it's enough. In Istria, the final act unfolds. Rox storms Nick's meeting with the Iranians, catching him off guard. The Iranians pull out of the deal. Juliet Quinn, sensing instability, also withdraws with her men. What was once a tight operation begins to unravel. At that moment, Mike roars into the scene on a motorbike. Rox tosses him the briefcase mid-motion, and chaos erupts. A violent pursuit ensues through the narrow streets of the town. Mike weaves through alleys, chased by armed mercenaries, while Rox regroups and closes in. Eventually, they corner Nick at the docks. It comes down to a standoff between Nick and Mike. To protect Rox, Mike lowers his weapon, but the fight isn't over. Another explosive car chase breaks out. Rox is briefly paralyzed by fear when she thinks Mike has been killed, but he returns, battered but alive. They press forward together. At the final confrontation, Nick refuses to be taken alive. He won't stand trial. He won't give the Union the satisfaction. Rox, with a steady hand and a heavy heart, takes the shot. The man she once loved collapses. The threat dies with him. By Sunday, peace returns in fragments. At Mike's brother's wedding, the sunlight feels warmer, the world more stable. Rox shows up quietly, watching from the side until Mike joins her. He delivers the perfect best man speech. Somewhere in the middle of laughter and glances, they admit their rekindled feelings for each other. They still matter to each other. As they slip away from the reception to bump some uglies, they run into a familiar face. Brennan appears, alive, calm, and sharp as ever. He offers Mike something unexpected, a spot on the next mission in Marrakesh. This time, as an official Union operative. The story closes on the edge of a new beginning. The initial mission is over, but something bigger is just beginning. And that is how it ended. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.